Syria, safe zones, many developments have taken place, especially over the last few days. I mentioned it in the opening of the program that some favorable developments indeed took place. For example, joint patrols in northern Syria. But still, Ankara seems skeptical about U.S. intentions. Why is that?
Ankara has all the right to have these doubts and be really skeptical. No one can blame them. Because the problem is, or what U.S. are just struggling to understand, or I don't want to call it deliberate, but let's say diplomatic way saying it is that Turkey has serious national security concerns because just outside its borders with Syria, let's remind our viewers that we have over 650 kilometers border with Syria, and a large portion of that border very important for us because a lot of the tribes live either side of the border, but they're still relatives, you see. So there are this very sensitive balance there. But now, in the last few years, we have something probably no one expected. We have around 80 to 90,000 armed men, right? They are armed under the pretext of a war against terrorism, namely ISIL or ISIS or Daesh, whatever you call them, which is legitimate, that's fine. But if you bring at anybody's border, anybody's, I'm just underlining this, bold, 80, 90,000 people and arm them with most developed weapons, heavy weapons as well, and train them, and finance them, as well as gain them field battle experience.
It is going to be a big matter of concern for that country.
That's what exactly happened there. You see, I'm not naming anybody. Look, if it happens somewhere in the, even Eskimos would be concerned, right? So this is very, very serious. We're not talking about, Turkey is not against war over terror. Turkey is saying, let me participate in it. But this is a security concern, right? So anywhere you put them, especially all the conferences I join in, international, I underline this. U.S., as happened before, has no plan whatsoever about the future of these armed groups in the region.
I think you gave a very light description of these 90, 80,000 men.
Yes.
These are just not people.
Look,
they are the offshoots.
I know, but yes, but I'm saying, let me first draw the picture in the minimal terms to tell you how awful it is.
True.
You see what I mean? So it is not a Kurdish-Turkish conflict. It's not Islamic conflict. Don't name them. You don't have to. This is like anybody's border. If you bring this many armed people, even to the Mexican border, that is a problem. You see, so Turkey's security concerns should be understood from this perspective, because Turkish army, Turkish security forces, Turkish police have one duty: to protect its citizens and safeguard them. But leaving at anybody's border this many armed men is a problem, right? Now, secondly, as I said, U.S. not bringing up any plan, what's next? Now, ISIS, one day, as we have seen in other parts of the Middle East, will disappear. No doubt about that. Okay? So it cannot go on another 50 or 100 years. So, are you going to take back these guns and weapons that you distributed?
And there's no plan.
Of course, they're not going to. Look, I'll give you an example. In 2011, when the Arab Spring started, the demonstrations started in Libya. Slowly in January 2011, and then continued in February. In March, UN Security Council had an anonymous decision to announce a safe zone over Libya, so Gaddafi cannot fly warplanes and kill people, right? But the very same evening, an attack started over Libya, and Gaddafi was toppled. Later, he was lynched and killed, right? Few weeks later, after that, when everything settled, the rebels, they call, or the revolutionists, they won. France said, oh, guys, I'm sorry to say, but I really distributed so many guns. And so for the people uprising, they would win against Gaddafi. These guns still in Libya. Libya divided into three. They're still killing each other. Nobody talking about it. There's an internal war going on. And even the slightest dispute, just a road rage, people come down with their guns. So guns are dangerous thing. These guns traveled to Mali, right? When Tuaregs, the youth, toppled or attacked the palace there, the army didn't have same quality guns. These guns traveled to the Great Sahara and Pisario. For decades, they're fighting for their independence. Now they have upper hand. What I'm trying to say is that these guns, wherever you leave them,
they're going to be a problem. But Professor, this is this one thing I fail to understand. The U.S. is one of the greatest powers in the world. It's a superpower. It has one of the best militaries in the world.
Yeah.
When they can arm the YPG, they can provide the YPG with heavy weaponry, why is it so difficult for them to collect them?
Because,
I mean, you have the best people.
Excellent. No, being so great doesn't mean you produce great results, right? So they're very good. They're thinking pragmatically. This is to say that, you know, they have a plan. We had to fight against Daesh, which is absolutely legitimate and I support. So how do we do that? We don't want to send U.S. soldiers there, so you use, in their terms, local forces. This happens to be YPG and all that, right? So they arm them, they train them, they give them blah, blah, which is fine. But if you don't observe the sensitivities, that's why I was saying, National Security Advisor, understand what kind of dynamics in the region. You know, when you're trying to sort out a problem, you better don't create many more, you see. So anywhere you just throw, just like that, some weapons, these weapons will turn, I mean, Kurds to Kurds, Kurds to Arabs, Arabs to Turks, Turks to, I mean, once you have the gun, this is going to be used. So that's what we're trying to say. Therefore, now let me move on to another subject. Turkey is saying, this is a problem for me. You're not giving up. You're telling me that it's a fight against terror. That's fine. But I have to safeguard my borders. Therefore, I need safe zones, whatever you call them. It has to be 20 miles or up to 30 kilometers for me to feel safe, which is fine.
And that's a legitimate security concern.
Well, absolutely. I mean, either you secure my borders, take away these guns, or take away these people. You have to. Or, in that sense, because there are a lot of criticism, according to international law, it's the Syria's legitimate soil. You can, okay, let Syria control it. I mean, so this is not an option.
At least do something.
Do something. Number two, and very important. Look, with the successful policies, the regime in Syria, as well or together with Russia, they swept all these what they call terrorist groups, or what some call them opposition groups, armed groups, giving them some options, saying, well, look, if you want to take your guns and your families and children, we provide buses, they're famous blue buses. We take you anywhere you want to go and continue fight. Or just drop your gun anywhere, disappear, go back to your village, we're not going to really run after you. Or stay and fight. Look at this. So a lot of these people left areas. So they were swept and now collected in Idlib. Idlib is the last region, last point for Syrian civil war. Once they clear that, they're saying, we have nothing else left, and we will go rebuild Syria. Now, in Idlib alone, over 3 million people living. 3 million people. And they will do everything to clear Idlib from what they call these terrorists, those armed groups. I'm using their own terminology. That is a serious potential migration to Turkey. Already we have pictures that they're coming to Turkish border.
I mean, Turkey's already hosting more than 3 million refugees.
That brings us to another very serious question. Jafar, nobody's asking this. Who is responsible of the refugees?
As of now, it seems like Turkey is the only country in the world which is responsible.
Anywhere
of
we
Syrian
have
refugees.
refugee crisis, where are these international organizations to look after? Look at it. Iraq, take Syria, tamam? Forget about Turkey. You have Iraq, failed state. Jordan, hardly surviving economically. Lebanon, already in trouble, right? Other side is Mediterranean. Suppose we don't have Turkey and we have another Mediterranean. Where would all these people go? Thrown in the sea? Why do you expect? Because Turkey is kind of really sees them as brothers, sees them as, first of all, human beings that need help. We allow them to come, and Europe, all they say is that please keep them there, don't let them come to Europe. I mean, why Turkey should? Like, because our administrators, I mean, government and the presidents, because these things in our culture is ayıp. I mean, it's, how do you say, something unacceptable to talk about that your guest occupied your room or ate your food. This is in our culture you share because they're our guests, you see. Therefore, they will never voice it this way, but I think free to say, well, look, this is a serious thing, and international community should contribute more, should bring up solutions. Now, already 4 or 5 million in Turkey living in various places. That's already creating problems, social problems, etc. And I think another 3 million will be too much to bear.
Definitely.
That has to be handled.
And the Turkish president has made it clear this time that Turkey cannot afford to take
should not, but I mean, Turkey will again do their duty, etc. Therefore, safe zones also can act as buffer zones. I mean, or to place these people, at least international organizations can either make makeshift camps and until the solution found. Why they should all cross the border, accommodate them within their territory, you see. So I think these two, that safe zone request serves for two purposes, and two very, very important, crucial purposes. One is that safety of our borders, etc. Number two is that the very potential, I mean, I'm saying potential is already there, it's going to happen, that these people can be temporarily settled and accommodated in that part of Syria, because it's a Syrian territory and Syrian people. So I think it would be better handled than letting them come in Turkey. And then, I mean, for how many you can really help as a state that it's a developing country. We are not a superpower. I mean, we have limited resources. Yes, we like to share, we like to help, but why us only? Then, you see, it turns out into, I feel personally, as a citizen of Turkey, that they're taking advantage of us, not Syrians. Others, that those who are directly responsible for finding solution to refugees. They're paid for this. They're doing careers for this. They're taking large sums of money, monthly salaries for this purpose. And where are they? We don't know.
And Professor, on the other hand, many countries have praised Turkey's plan for the establishment of a safe zone, given the fact what Turkey has done for the refugees, especially the Syrian refugees, and also in the fight against terrorism. Just last week, I believe, the Czech Prime Minister was in Turkey. He also praised Turkey's plan for the establishment of a safe zone. Now, my last question to you very quickly. Turkey has always kept a military operation as the last resort. Turkey has always prioritized having a dialogue in order to solve the differences. Do you think Ankara will move forward with a military operation in northern Syria if the United States does not cooperate?
Yeah, but first let me comment on pricing. I think Turkey reached to a level that Turkey would like to prize other countries for what they're doing in terms of refugees concerned, you see. Because I know in the past, French president and Germans, and they all really prized, yes, thank you very much, but let us prize you as well. You see? So anyway, look, now probably, as you said, it will be the last ever option. But our Turkish security forces, as I said, they have one single duty to protect its citizens, to protect the borders. And Turkey, for a long time, I think they even exceeded the limits, kind of voicing a concern and why they're concerned of what's happening in the region. And unfortunately, the U.S. so far, yes, okay, better than nothing. We're patrolling with helicopters the region, and it seems now some of these armed groups kind of taken away, because whole idea is the southern clearing up to there's a M4 coming on this, like a big motorway. It's a
very important highway.
Very important highway. So that highway meets actually in Aleppo and then to A1 up to Damascus. So Turkey, after the Astana meetings, we talked about it here, kind of in a way volunteered the guarding the de-escalation zone, safeguarding at the same time the big motorway between Aleppo and Damascus, which actually also passes through Hama and Homs. So it was very important for logistics. Now Turkey is saying that the 20 miles is actually from Turkish border to that motorway. So if these forces, the armed groups, goes beyond that area, so at least that road would be cleared, and the Turkish border would be better secured. So when it comes to the point, I think Turkey would do everything to avoid any kind of clashes in the region, especially with Americans. We are good allies. But, I mean, what happens if Turkey really feels in Ankara that this threat is growing and something should be done? Probably avoiding Americans, they would take action, because, as I said, this is their job to do. They have to say, you cannot just ignore that fact that these people, and there are also some, attacks coming from there, some of these cannons fired or the armed groups firing. This is unacceptable. As I said, Turkey got to safeguard, and full stop, as good as any other country in this planet, as US would do, as Canada would do, as Germany or France. So Turkey, I think, even lasted longer than it should be, in a way, like always trying to negotiate, always bringing up this subject at international platforms, voicing their concerns. But unfortunately, there's also a counter-argument that saying, oh, Turkey is doing this because they're against Kurds, and they're irritated of Kurds. Well, this is nothing to do with Kurds. I mean, I don't feel threatened by Kurds anywhere in this country. There are hundreds and thousands of them. But as a citizen, I'm concerned if I have this many armed groups outside my borders, and you never know when they cross.
We're part of a recognized terrorist organization.
You see, that's another thing. I mean, even that terror organization is recognized by the United States.
And the European Union.
Yes, and then you go and cooperate with them, and you're a legitimate ally here for a long time. For decades, we have good relations with EU and US. And now Turkey keeps saying, we have a problem here. And this is somewhat ignored, or they do like too little, too late type of policies. Therefore, it's very important if we have a national security advisor who would hopefully had some experience in the region, knows a bit of what's going on, the dynamics, concerns, probably we would have a better world.
Definitely. Mr. Vehbi Baysan, thank you very much for being with us. Let's be hopeful that the idea of a safe zone in northern Syria will be changed into reality by the end of September.